everybody's got to expand and kind of get outside of that comfort level. Talk to people. We're a social species, and we need to be social with each other, and that'll definitely help in um, overcoming the mental roadblocks that a disability, especially blindness, can have on someone. Um,
Hi everyone, it's Carrie from Live Accessible, and today I have a very special guest, Darragh, also known as Whistler from the YouTube channel Theory of a Blind Man, and also he has another YouTube channel called Have You Seen Me? And so go ahead, Darragh, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your two YouTube channels and what you do on them.
yeah, like you mentioned, my name is Darragh Ryan. I also go by Whistler online. So for those of you who try to dox people, I've already doxed myself, so good luck. My primary channel, Theory of a Blind Man, is basically the world according to me. You know, that's the theory of life according to me, and whatever I find interesting or whatever people want me to talk about, that's what I'll cover. And I've been actually gearing my channel more towards happy, fun, positive type of things because, as most people are aware, YouTube is just filled with the rabbit holes of negativity and fear mongering and blah. It's just so I kind of want to change my channel as far as that goes. And my other channel, Have You Seen Me, is strictly just little 2.5, 3 minute clips of missing children in the United States. So I try to upload one a day, depending on when the website gets updated on new missing children. Hopefully never, but unfortunately it does. There's over 800,000 missing children a year in the United States. So I just make videos on those every day and try to help spread awareness of a missing child. And hopefully someone spots the child and helps the child get home.
It just breaks my heart every time I see one of those videos.
It's really hard to do. It's really hard to make those videos. I've gotten to the point where I almost have to disassociate myself with humanity just to make those videos because doing one a day, just one a day, is so taxing and draining on the soul.
Like as a mom, I mean, I can really feel it deep down, like thinking about my son. And a lot of the time, we kind of tend to think, oh, yeah, it happens. And then until it happens to someone you know or to yourself even, it's not until then that you really are faced with the reality of it, because not everybody, you don't just walk around talking about those kinds of things.
Exactly. And I think it's not a bad thing or a good thing, but it's more of a hope, this kind of apathetic approach to it could never happen to me or my children type of thing. And yeah, like you said, until it happens to you, it doesn't really register, or it's just like sweeping it under the rug until it happens to you.
Exactly, exactly. And so tell us a little bit about the theory of a blind man. How did you start the channel? When did you start it? And just generally, like, why did you start it? And what's the goal of
That channel has gone through some changes. When I first started it, so I used to do digital online radio, and I had my own station called Third Eye Radio Network. And so what I would do is a lot of alternative news and a lot of alternative media type of topics. I would simulcast my radio shows and put them on YouTube as well, so they could be archived. Um, and then there had been, I thought there had been some issues with the type of topics that I was covering, and basically it was suggested to me that possibly my channel had gotten shadow banned because of the topics that I was covering. And it wasn't just those topics. I covered many different topics. So it was really unfair to all the different hosts and broadcasters that I had. So I tried changing the name to Turn and Burn, TERN, Third Eye Radio Network, to see if that had an effect. and it didn't. So I ended up finally changing it to Theory of a Blind Man, and kind of like I said earlier, backed away from those types of topics and just started doing topics that make me happy. And that seems to have worked somewhat. My subscribers started going up again. How I got started on YouTube was this thing called the Holman Prize Blindness Ambition Award. And you had to submit a 90-second YouTube video. And I had never done YouTube. I mean, I'd watched YouTube for years and years, but never did a video. But as soon as I did that video, I got the YouTube bug. And I had over 600 videos. I had to delete a bunch of them and privatize a bunch of them. So I'm around 470 videos, I think, right now. So yeah, that's how I got started.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about your vision and how much you can see, or if you lost your sight and how that process went.
My vision is kind of like Nostradamus, I think. I don't have any physical usable sight. What I do see, I've described this on several different other interviews and videos of my own. If you could, well, okay, so basically it's totally black out of my left side, and the right side is black, but with like one, maybe two shades lighter of a black. So a little bit of gray mixed in there. And I got this almost very, very fine pixelation in that blackness. But it's a type, the pixelation is so small, you couldn't really, if you try to focus on a dot, you just can't. And then, of course, I got a bunch of colored lights as remnants from laser surgeries that are always there. So that's my vision. And I lost it in 2003, at the end of 2003, totally.
How old were you, and what made you lose your vision?
I was 23 when it started in January of 2003. And it started off as a head trauma. I'm also type 1 diabetic. So it caused detached retinas, and something about the blood vessels couldn't heal properly because of the diabetes. So that's, and after several months of surgeries and trying to fix it, they couldn't. And I lost all my usable sight after that.
Wow.
I got hit with a brick.
You got hit by what?
A brick.
A brick?
Yeah, it was a random act of violence.
Wow. What, did you know who threw it? Or?
Not initially, but I did find out who it was. It turned out to be someone that I actually played Little League Baseball with in school and went to school with. Never really were friends or associated with each other or anything like that. Never found out why he did it. So yeah, it was legitimately I was just talking to a friend outside of their house, and they had one of those brick walls in front of the house, beneath the front windows. And yeah, he came up behind me, pushed me into the brick wall. Oops, sorry. And picked up a brick and smashed it on my head and kicked me a bunch of times. Yeah. What's odd is I had no visual injuries. I had no bleeding, no cuts, no bruising, no swelling, nothing.
It was all internal.
Yeah. Like even there was two of my friends who are no longer friends because they did nothing. They were there as well. And they said, like, you've got no injuries. I didn't bother going to the doctors. I should have. Maybe I could have saved my sight, but I didn't. And about a year later, I started noticing like blood flowing to the front of my eye if I was laying down. And then the next year is when I guess the retinas completely exploded. The doctor said that the retinas actually look like, you know, the stovetop popcorn, like Jiffy Tops with the foil balls that explode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's what he said my retinas look like.
Wow.
Yeah, it was intense.
So going through that and how you lost your sight and everything, how did you adjust how did you feel? What emotional process did you go through?
Um, it was interesting, and like I said in your words of encouragement video, which I highly recommend everybody go watch that. For me, it was just another step in life. It was just another thing that I had to learn, as in like graduating from Velcro shoes to shoelaces type of thing. It was That's how it was to me at the time. But after about um, 7 years, other events in my life kind of compounded and let everything come out. So it wasn't until about 7 years that I really had some kind of mental anguish or trauma that happened. And then I just dealt with it. It was like, okay, this is what's coming up. This is what I have to talk to myself about and other people about and get over it.
Wow, well, you have a lot of resilience. What's one piece of encouragement to share on this video? I know that you shared in the encouragement video. It could be similar, but what
That
is
I
the
could
thing that
not
you
get below 30 seconds. I tried. Originally it was like 6 minutes. It's like, okay, I can't even cut this because it flowed so good. So I had to do another one and then another one. I was like, oh my God, I'll just let her cut it up.
Well, thanks. I had a really hard time because I'm like, okay, what can I cut out?
Yeah, it was a lot.
But what's something that you can share to people who are losing their sight or have been blind all their life for this video?
Get out of the blind bubble. And I don't know if that's a well used term. I thought I created it. Maybe not. Who knows? But it's in my mind. I consider the blind bubble that someone that is blind, or even disabled for that matter, that they stick in this little comfortable, safe place within either their environment or their mind or their heart and soul. Um, Everybody's got to expand and kind of get outside of that comfort level. Talk to people. We're a social species and we need to be social with each other. And that'll definitely help in overcoming the mental roadblocks that a disability, especially blindness, can have on someone. I noticed when I was going through the losing my sight process, I always had this thought of like, oh, no one knows how I feel. And obviously that's not true, but that's how this blind bubble can entrap someone into that mental state of thought. Like no one else knows what I'm going through. Yeah, there are blind people. We all have our individual experiences, but the more we talk about it, the more we can relate. It may not be exact, but it'll definitely help us in overcoming any kind of mental roadblocks.
Yeah, I mean, we might have individually separate experiences that might have their own flavor, but we have very similar struggles, and both uh, with accessibility, with
Mhm.
technology, with society, and so it's something that we can support each other with.
I got a good example actually that I just thought about. When I was working during when I lost my sight, I was working for a granite fabrication shop. I would program a computer in AutoCAD and create designs that a giant machine called a water jet would cut out of like a granite and marble and travertine and limestone, even metal. We could cut into metal. So I'd be operating this giant machine. And the day that I woke up, January 17th, 2003, that was the day I woke up totally blind out of my left eye. So I still had good sight in my right eye, but like I mentioned, I had that blood flow to the front of my eye. So I drove to work and I sat down on the computer, still couldn't see really good. Then my right eye started getting fuzzy. And so I was talking to my boss about it, and he couldn't grasp the different um, levels of blindness, I guess you could say. He was like, well, if you can see, why can't you see it? Like it's either you're blind or you're not. And I think that's where my stigma comes in about people using the terms blind, even though they're visually impaired. I'm like, well, if you're blind, you're blind. You're either totally blind or you're visually impaired. But anyway, I digress. So he kind of brought it to my attention that
Mhm.
the stage of losing sight, that's the doozy of not knowing how far it's going to go. I had full confidence that after a few surgeries, I would still have usable sight. But after every surgery, you sign this little waiver saying, well, you might get, what was the first one? So the retina repair, which I had to have a gas bubble put in my eye. Because of that gas bubble, you could develop cataracts, which I did. So they replaced my lens, and I had good
Okay.
sight for about 6 months. But the hooks that they used to attach the lens to, the cornea, I believe, those hooks could cause glaucoma,
Oh
which
my
I
goodness.
got. And then so they had to put an almond valve in the globe of my eye, in the globe of my eye. And that just became eventually too much for my eye, and I lost all usable sight. So besides death, I got all the, very rare possibilities of what could happen during surgeries. So rather than having the hope, I mean, yeah, hope is good. Don't get me wrong, but you set yourself up for certain types of failures and disappointments, which could also lead to a certain level of depression.
Absolutely. And but at the same time, like with Pablo, he had something similar in a way. Basically, they gave him an overdose of heparin, and so his retinas just started bleeding. And but in his case, he lost all usable vision in just a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he sees it, that when people lose their sight gradually, at the same time, you have more time. You have more time with the sight that you do have to see your family, to see your kids, your wife, your husband, whatever, um, while you still have some vision instead of just having everything taken away all at once. So,
Yeah, no doubt. And that's again one of those personal perspectives, and I don't disagree whatsoever. Um, when you lose your sight, that could really go either way. Like I was saying about the whole hope thing of losing your sight slowly. Technically, I lost my sight slowly in my right eye. After it all, I wished I would have just lost it all at once. And that's just because I wouldn't have had to have wasted all that time in thinking or even trying to learn adaptive stuff for low vision or high partial or whatever. I ended up just closing my eyes completely and learning things as if I was totally blind, which in the end saved me a tremendous amount of time. So for me, it was just more time efficient, nothing to do with like my personal thoughts or emotions or anything like that.
mhm. And in some ways, um, I think that even when you are visually impaired, like me, or legally blind, however you want to label it, it's always good to be able to have the skills in case, I mean, I hope that it doesn't happen, but in
Yeah,
case, something does happen and you lose more of your vision and you won't be able to use your quote low vision skills.
no
So,
doubt. I mean, a perfect example is, what if the power goes out? All of our
exactly.
technology is gone. You better know Braille. All I'm gonna say is it's just like you can't read a book unless you have learned how to read. So you need to know the roots of everything in order to be, sufficient and efficient in your skills.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, is there any last things you want to share with YouTube, the audience, anybody out there?
If anybody wants to know anything else, I'm always open for conversation or even interviews. Whatever, you can just pretty much find me anywhere in the blind, visually impaired YouTuber support group. You can email me, Whistler at theoryofablindman.com, or visit my site, theoryofAblindman.com. Oh, and if you have a YouTube channel and you're blind or low vision, I do have a bunch of YouTubers on my website as well. So you can actually just have a huge database of other cool YouTubers. So yeah, I'm open.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on here and being part of the interview series.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks for watching, everyone. If you want to subscribe to Live Accessible, you can click or tap right here or down below, and I will have links to Darragh Whistler's channel down in the description, or you can click and tap right here. If you want to watch more of the interview series, you can click or tap right here, and if you want to watch any other video, you can click or tap right here. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.